McNeil.
If you had been in Mosul, Iraq, in December of 2003, you would have seen on the airfield, actually next to the airfield, along the fence, a group of soldiers in tan uniforms. You would have seen them and noticed that they would have looked a little anxious, a little nervous. And I can say they were anxious. I can say that because I was in the group. We were anxious because we had been in combat for 10 months almost. And we were going home. And we were standing at the fence looking out to see which C-130, a military aircraft, which one we were riding home. Actually, to be more specific, we were riding that military aircraft to Kuwait for our next part of the journey. As we were looking out, we would see one and say, "Is that it?" "No, that's not it." "Maybe that's it." "No, that's not it." We didn't see the man walking up toward us, also in a desert uniform, tan desert uniform. He said, "I need to get everyone's attention." We all gathered around as much as we could. He was on one side of the fence and we were on the other. He said, "I have something to tell you and I need your opinion. We have scheduled to fly on the flight with you some remains. If that bothers you, you can opt to take a later flight. You can ask us and we'll schedule the remains for a later flight. Or if it doesn't bother you, you can just take the flight as it is." The word remains bothered me a lot. Still does. One of the sergeants on my side of the fence raised his hand. He says, "I have to ask you something. You said remains. Are you talking about dead soldiers?" He said, "Yes, I'm talking about dead soldiers. 2 of them. And they will be going back to Kuwait with you, if you choose." The sergeant said, "I can only speak for myself, but those are not remains. Those are heroes. It would be my honor to share the flight with them." The sergeant said, "Does that sum it up for everyone else?" It was unanimous. We all agreed. So he said, "Your flight's ready. Let's go." We marched across the airfield, walked into the back of the plane, and if you've ever seen a C-130, you'll notice that the seats go down this way toward the front of the plane, and you're looking toward the center of the plane. So we buckled ourselves in. I've never liked flying on the C-130. I don't think I ever will. They're a little bumpy. So I tightened that seatbelt until it felt like a noose. I didn't think I could breathe. And then here comes the caskets. Already had American flags draped over them. And for the entire 30-minute to almost an hour flight from northern Iraq to Kuwait, I was looking at this casket. And I remember thinking, this is the price of freedom. It isn't the soldiers that are over there that get to come home, although no one leaves combat unchanged rather. No one leaves combat the way they went in. It isn't the soldiers that come home. It's the soldiers that don't get to come home. It's the families that lose a husband, wife, father, mother. This is the cost of freedom. Right here is the cost of freedom. It's the soldier's life. I can honestly say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that was the best flight I have ever been on. When we landed, I was still staring at that casket the entire time. I didn't have the courage to move my eyes away. Because I knew if I did, I'd start crying. Because this is one of my fellow soldiers. This is my brother. It didn't matter if I'd never met the man before in my life, this was my brother. So I sat there and I stared the entire time. When the plane landed, they said, we're going to take you out through the front. We went out through the front, and I caught a glimpse of them unloading the 2 caskets with an honor guard on each side, 4 soldiers on each side, with a salute. That was the best flight I've ever been on. Not because of the plane. It was as bumpy as it always is. I'm glad I didn't eat before I got on the plane. It was the best flight ever because I learned, yet again, while we're there. That is the cost of freedom.
Wow, what a great speech.